Hello everyone, how's it going? Elliot here again. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at quite possibly the world's worst selling console. By world's worst selling console, obviously that is a big title to give something. I'm talking about something that had a proper official launch, a whole big background behind it, not just like a little cheap knockoff Chinese thing. This is the Gizmondo. It sold just under 25,000 units worldwide, selling only 1,000 on its release day, which is just scary and embarrassing at the same time. This thing has an absolute adventure of a history. So without any further ado, let's very quickly get into the video. I want to show you this thing. I'm not going to really talk in depth about its history. If you want to find out more about the Gizmondo, I'm going to leave a link to LGR's video in the description below. I'm only going to be relaying the information that I learned from his video. So yeah, go and check that out. Without any further ado, let's crack on and review the Gizmondo. Before we get any further into this video, I just would like to say a massive thank you to Paul, who actually reached out to me and sent me this along with a couple of other little goodies that we'll take a look at in another video. He also sent me 3 Gizmondo games with this thing, including 2 sealed games. We've got FIFA and also SSX3, which I think is probably one of the most common games for this thing. I've actually sat down and played the Gizmondo a little bit. And if you just take away the history of it and the associations it has, stripping it all down, it's actually not too bad of a console. But that's just about as good as it gets, not that bad. Honestly, this thing is just comical. So let's really quickly just brush over this thing before we actually get into the gameplay, because I don't want to spend too much time studying the externals, because if you would like to check out LGR's video, that will cover everything. But really quickly, this thing cost some $300+ when it first came out, which I think is about $500 now in 2019. So that is depressing. It was pretty much double the price of the first Nintendo DS, and it came out at just around the same time. This thing was released by a company called Tiger Telematics, which is not to be confused with Tiger Electronics, which is the company that made the little LCD games and watches and other bits and bobs like that. So yeah, the CEO of this thing, there's controversies upon controversies about this dude relating to mafia and stolen cars, and long story short, Gizmondo, the company, made a massive deal about selling this thing, including putting a high street shop in London. They flew in loads of celebrities from all around the world. They sponsored racing cars and got telecom networks involved, and then they just never paid anyone. And then because they only sold 25,000 units, they then declared themselves bankrupt and owed some $300 million or something, and they were in debt by that much. It was just absolutely ridiculous. So the Gizmondo was a bit of a fail. Because of that, they're quite hard to get your hands on. They go for around £100, and obviously selling only under 25,000 of them. There isn't many of them going around. A lot of them, I'm sure, have probably been chucked out. There's 2 versions of it. There is this one, and then there's also the one that had like ads in it to kind of reduce the price. So it is literally as ridiculous as it sounds. You know, when you're browsing around on the internet and you see some ads, that is what this was, although they never actually activated the ads. So for the people who did pay like $350, you could have got it for half the price, and they never activated the ads anyway, so gutted. Right, that's enough waffling. Let's just go ahead and have a look at the gameplay. So I suppose what we can quickly do is just have a look at one of the game boxes. So this is the game SSX3 by Gizmondo, sponsored or licensed by EA. It's a very much an EA game, and it is incredibly competent and runs very well. It's just in like a regular sort of DVD sized case. The cartridge comes up here and looks like this, and it is basically an SD card. Taking a leaf out of Nokia's book, it features a tiny little card holder, which actually has Gizmondo written on it. This manual is in black and white. I can't open the other ones because they're sealed, but maybe some of the other ones are in color, but this one isn't, although the artwork on the front is very nice. Speaking of artwork, the game cartridge itself, or should I say the SD card, has the lowest resolution artwork I've ever seen. And you can actually see the sticker doesn't fully cover the SD card, which is also quite comical. So that just goes in on the bottom. And so here is the actual Gizmondo itself in all of its sticky, furry, fluffy, greasy glory. It has a really, really nice kind of plastic bezel around here. I believe this came in two colors, black and silver. It's got a very strange circle directional pad, although it actually does have definitive directional presses. And then it's got play, pause, rewind and fast forward as action buttons. On the bottom you've got charger, mini USB, headphone and the SD card slot. It has a rechargeable battery, some of which are quite kind of bulged, but this one seems to be pretty okay. There's the SIM card inside, which is something that we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, but we're definitely not going to spend too much time on that. What I'm going to do later on is see if I can remove this horrible sticky rubber coating. But we won't tackle that just yet because I just want to talk about the actual console. There's the camera, which is a really, really low quality camera. I'll take a photo on that in a minute. We've got our trigger buttons and there's pretty much nothing else anywhere else other than up here where we have power, volume, brightness, a triangle button, which I still am yet to work out what that does, and our power button. So that's enough of the outside. Let's go ahead and turn it on with the power button at the top, which you hold down. One thing that we should definitely talk about is how long this thing takes to turn on. So you have loading at the bottom, and then a couple of moments later, the loading word disappears. And then the screen gets slightly brighter, turns a little bit more. Ah, there we go. Oh no, it's still incredibly laggy, so it takes a long, long time to actually get going, and then it starts to speed up and comes a little bit snappier. So I'm not going to go through all of these ridiculous things, but we've for some reason got movies. I don't know why we do, but we do. We've got music, again, not sure why it's there. Messaging, which is a thing of wonders. GPS and web, which I don't have set up. The web doesn't seem to work, and the GPS signals are weaker than a toad. And then we've got camera and images. Now this is worth looking at. I'm going to take a quick selfie. Let's go ahead and do that. I'll do it in the portrait mode because I'm a rebel. There you go, you can see my face just down there in the corner. The camera's not too bad, it's a little bit laggy, but in relatively good lighting it's actually pretty decent. But obviously how many people are going to have studio lights around with them all the time? But yeah, there we go, that's that. I don't know why you'd want that. There's a selfie from when I first discovered that this thing took photos. And then we've got contacts and applications, and all of the applications are just ridiculous. In order to actually use the Bluetooth function, you have to have another Gizmondo. It doesn't send to regular phones or computers or laptops. It's Gizmondo to Gizmondo or no Bluetooth at all. So let's go ahead and actually play some games. One thing I should mention is the reflections on this screen is quite painful, so there's definitely no way of playing this outside, but once you get that sweet spot, it's all okay. Obviously it's nice and backlit, so you can play it in the dark with no problems. So we'll go ahead and play Conquer the Mountain. We'll play a random person. I don't really care about all of this, I just want to show you some cool gameplay. So actual gameplay on the Gizmondo is definitely not bad. The game that I'm playing right now, this snowboarding game, is very, very competent. It's quite aesthetically pleasing. It's a fun enough racing game. I don't play many snowboarding games, so to have one now is quite fun. It's very, very snappy, it's responsive, it's easy to hold and to use. Obviously that stickiness is a big problem, but that's just something that you're going to have to put up with unless you address it like I'm going to later on. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. It's really not that bad. If it wasn't for all of the weird controversies behind this thing, I think a lot more people would be speaking good things about it, because I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I didn't spend $400 on it when it first came out, but whoever did, thank you, because now I'm having fun with it. So as you can see, it's definitely a competent device. There's no lag in the games. Every now and again you do get a little bit of slowdown on the Gizmondo, but when it isn't having that issue, it's very, very nice. And I definitely haven't experienced that much slowdown. Just keep it nice and fully charged, and don't fill it up with a bunch of pictures and weird music and movies, and you'll be sound. I don't know why you'd want to listen to music on this thing anyway and watch movies on it, but in terms of a console, it works well, it looks alright, it feels good, and that's about it really, that's all you want. So there we have it, the Gizmondo in 2019, the worst selling handheld still of all time. If you take away all of the crazy, weird things that this thing can do, like sending text messages and GPS and even a currency converter, and to be honest, even the camera is a little bit just unnecessary. They could have taken all of those weird functions away, just made it play games, reduced the price to, $100 when it first came out, and I think Gizmondo would still be around. Heck, Gizmondo were even planning on making more Gizmondos. I believe they were even planning on running Android on them and other ridiculous things as well. So they tried too hard. They went in with everything that they could possibly have, and it was just too much. The Nintendo DS was just so basic. The only functions it had other than playing games was just like picture chat and stuff. So yeah, unfortunately they got that bit a little bit wrong. Bit of an oversight, resulting in a company going into administration in debt of over $300 million. So that is going to conclude the video of the Gizmondo. Thank you very much again to Paul for sending this thing out. As for the isopropyl on the battery cover, oh my goodness, did that work well. The finish underneath is a very, very nice sort of gloss, but yet kind of like a matte finish. And it just works so well. So what I'm going to do is probably go at the rest of the console in a separate video if you do want to watch that. Understandably, that is probably going to get a little bit of hate, and you're entitled to not support my decision to do that, because these things are quite hard to get your hands on, and when you do, you can hardly get your hands off them because your hands are stuck to it. So yeah, I'm going to remove the rest of it and actually make it a functional playable console. I'm also going to work out how to just download all the ROMs onto a regular SD card and then just play this thing, because I know that there's a lot of good games out there, and it works, it's functional, I really like it. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Let me know what you think of the Gizmondo, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.